I awoke to a spectacular sunrise, perched on a mountain top with the California hills in the foreground and Mexico in the distance. I gazed out upon the town of Tecate, birthplace of the much-loved Mexican lager. This scenic corner of California was surprisingly deserted. I guess that can be attributed to a widespread fear of the Mexico-US border area. I was warned that if I camped out there, I might be approached and questioned by Border Patrol agents. I had nothing to worry about, right? In fact, we had good reason to be nervous, having found ourselves in the predicament of crossing the border with expired plates. Not to mention, the news had recently been full of stories about tourists who had disappeared or been kidnapped by the cartel. Would we succumb to the dangers, or would we survive our foray through the borderlands? I hadn't driven across the border since college many years ago, and I remember, nobody ever stopping us, but it was a long time ago and laws were a lot different. So based on the tensions recently around the border area, I definitely expected somebody to at least say something to us or check that we had Mexican car insurance, which I had paid a whole lot of money for and never ended up showing it to anyone or really using it. Essentially, we just drove right through. There was nobody even sitting there looking at us.
De México. ¡Ay, ay, ay! Las flores.
Bienvenidos a Ensenada.
Ensenada is a mid-sized coastal city with a Mediterranean climate. One of the first things we noticed was the daily arrival of cruise ships. Each afternoon, downtown was flooded with tourists for just a couple hours, and then they'd leave and everything was quiet again. In the 1920s and 30s, Prohibition sent Americans and Canadians south of the border in search of entertainment and alcohol, developing Baja California as a tourist destination. Guadalupe Island, off the coast of the city, is a wildlife sanctuary, home to great white sharks, gray whales, leopard sharks, seals, and sea lions.
Be nice. Nico, be nice.
Pero si quiere la presencia.
Vinto de Ensenada es muy bien.
El vino.
Vino de Ensenada es muy bien. So Ensenada historically has always been wine territory. They have a lot of amazing vineyards and a lot of good wines come from down here.
The Valle de Guadalupe is home to the first winery in all of the Americas. In a surprising turn of history, it was actually established by Russian immigrants who were prolific in the region. Over time, the wine craze spread, and now there are over 100 wineries here. The hacienda-style vineyards gained a reputation for both their high quality and atmosphere. The valley holds annual wine festivals in August and October, but it's a lovely place to visit any time of the year.
But they told us during the pandemic, craft breweries, like little microbreweries, started popping up everywhere because everybody kind of got bored and they could only serve beer in certain places. And so people just started brewing more beer. So now there's a ton of really good craft breweries along the coast, minutes from where we're staying.
We needed no excuses to stop and try out some of the local beers. The brews, the food, the vibes. It was all unbeatable. Tonight we have a very fancy meal of fresh oysters, a very fancy sauce specially prepared by the chef in a dropper. Have you ever seen such a fancy sauce in your life? Doesn't get any better than this. The food in Ensenada was absolutely incredible. Definitely not your stereotypical Mexican stuff, like amazing fresh seafood. Tropical fruits were so cheap and easy to come by. I can't even count how many mangoes and papayas I ate over the course of the month. Of course, one of the first things we wanted to do was visit the beach. This was my first time driving a car abroad, and it was half daunting, half thrilling.
I chop things up, I put them in the pan. I get them real hot, and then put them in my mouth. What I do is art. He does not like that you're filming him.
Fortunately, Nico got bullied by the Mexican dogs. All of the Mexican dogs got free range around the neighborhood. They were just loose all day, every day, running around. And in hindsight, it was probably a mistake to bring mine out on leashes because those other dogs just ran up and immediately started attacking. But, you know, Nico survived. He's fine. The host of our Airbnb hid chocolate-filled Easter eggs around the property, which was a fun and delicious surprise. During our time off, we headed to the hills for a horseback ride. The wildflowers were in full bloom, and the mountains were incredibly scenic, despite this being one of the stranger Airbnb experiences that I've ever been on. We showed up for horseback riding, and nobody introduced themselves. It was basically just like someone handed me a horse, and I was like, hi. It was a lady, her husband, and their kid, and they pretty much acted like they were just on a family horseback ride, and the three of them just rode on ahead and completely ignored all the people on the tour. So I just kind of stayed back and chatted with the other couple. They were super nice. It pretty much just felt like we were crashing their little family get together, and it was super awkward, but still beautiful. Yeah. Just ate at a restaurant that has this beautiful garden in the back with all kinds of art and lots of birds and coops and a little guard dog. La Bufadora is Ensenada's most popular tourist attraction. It is a natural marine geyser that is capable of shooting water well over 60 feet in the air. A whole village of tourist shops has popped up around it, which was actually quite enjoyable to walk through. Easter baptism. About what you're making tonight.
El camarones de cocodrilo. ¡Ay, it's Nico! Camarones peligroso, sucio. Y mango sticky rice. Es muy bueno.
So the water might still be too cold to swim, but springtime is the perfect time to hike in Ensenada. I don't know what I expected from hiking in this area, but this was just way better than I ever could have imagined. Literally walked 11 miles without even noticing. Like, I couldn't believe it when I looked at my Strava just now.
See the ship? The magic of Mexico.
For some reason, the banks in San Diego were not stocked up with pesos, so they told me I was just gonna have to get some once I crossed the border. We just ended up never getting pesos, because like the only exchange place that we saw was right next to the border in a dangerous area. Most people accepted dollars, they just kind of charged you a little bit of extra. For example, we were charged $6 per coconut, when really, after the exchange rate, it only should have been about $1.50. But at the end of the day, I'd rather these vendors get the extra cash than the big banks.
I don't see how he can like see fish from there. But he's looking looking for fish.
Did you see the squirrel too? The squirrel's also looking for fish.
No, I don't think so. You wanna do a picture
Oh,
by
sure.
the ocean?
Our apartment was in a wonderful location, right at the trailhead to the informal mountain trail network. It also had a beautiful rooftop balcony overlooking the ocean, which was wonderful for watching the sunset.
So you can't drink the water in Mexico. Apparently not even the locals drink it, just because the infrastructure is not set up in a way where there's adequate water treatment to make the tap water potable. So every time we have to go to the store and get one of these. And pro tip, if you ever go to a Mexican grocery store, make sure the security person sees you returning the gallon jug. Otherwise, they will treat you like a liar and a thief and will try to charge you for a new one. So you have to be very adamant about the fact that you brought one back.
It's kind of wonky looking there. Every day after work, I made it out to either the beach or the mountains, a fabulous way to live. I feel so lucky to have spent the month in this place full of natural beauty. There was a trail that started right outside our door, but it wasn't listed on any of my map apps, so I wasn't even sure if it was public or private. I tentatively began sneaking around, just waiting for the authorities or cartel to pounce on me. It was incredibly quiet and peaceful out there on the trails, not a soul in sight. In the distance, I spied what appeared to be deserted buildings. Something about them up there on the hilltop reminded me of a Miyazaki film, shrouded in an air of mystery, deserted yet peaceful, surrounded by grass swaying in the wind. The buildings kept reappearing in my dreams, and eventually I gave in and decided to visit them. Once again, I half anticipated getting arrested or mauled by squatters, but the risk is what made it even more special. I don't know the story behind these ruins, but it was certainly a fascinating place to explore. when we finally have a nice warm beach day. There's some kind of oil spill or something going on in the bay, so nobody can get in the water. Whatever it is, it smells bad here today.
Having accumulated the maximum amount of water jugs from Calimax, we are now making a mad dash for the border as the Mexican federales are hot on our trail.
Those don't have door on.
Ay, papi, es muy caliente. Necesito refrescar. Sprite. Ay, qué rico.
I gotta say, I'm pretty excited to be able to flush toilet paper and use the tap water again. How about you, Ethan?
I'm excited for this torta.
Made it across the border. The whole wait took us less than an hour, which I was expecting like 3 hours. So we went into this neighborhood to like go to the McDonald's, and then the way that we came out of the neighborhood was like an alternate entrance to the border crossing, and we bypassed so much of the traffic. So that was just a really lucky coincidence. Tijuana obviously has a really bad reputation, and everything we read was like, do not stop in Tijuana, drive straight through no matter what. And this McDonald's that we stopped at, it was just like full of families with little kids, and it was not at all what I like had in my head pictured of Tijuana. But I guess when you think about it, it's the same as like talking about Detroit, right? Like obviously there's a super high crime rate in Detroit and things are like falling apart there, but there's still also plenty of happy people living normal lives. So here we are in Chula Vista, taking a pit stop so the dogs can use the restroom, and then we are back on the road again.